Hey guys, my name is Michael, and welcome to the CAO Information Evening. I'm a final year Bachelor's of Science student in Sports Science and Health. Today I'm just going to talk you through some of the courses that the School of Health and Human Performance have to offer here at DCU. I myself came to DCU because I was really passionate about exercise and physical activity and how it affects your health, and I really wanted to get the best education possible. So I think the first thing is why would you even study in the School of Health and Human Performance at DCU? And if we move to the next slide over there, I think one of the biggest things is the newly designed Polaris building. So one slide, perfect. And we can see the Polaris building here in the top right-hand side. It really contains world-class leading research facilities for the students to be able to conduct high-quality research. At the bottom, beneath that building there, we can see an idea of a lecture hall that can be there within the building. High-quality strength conditioning labs is there as well in the bottom right-hand side. And then on the top right-hand side, we can see an image of the campus. It's an extremely vibrant campus, and it really takes into account the student experience within DCU, and it's really amazing. So if we move on to the next slide, I'm just going to talk to you about the Sports Science and Health, my own course. And basically what it is a discipline that studies the science underpinning sports performance and also the role of physical activity in the prevention and treatment of congenital and chronic diseases. So basically it starts off really basic at the start, where you learn about your basic sciences, biology, chemistry, and physics. And then as you go on to later years, you can try focus in on working with high performance athletes, or then focusing on the health aspect of how exercise can affect your health. So if we move on to the next slide there. So again, in year one, you get the intro to the basic sciences and the general aspects of sports science and health. In year two, you get the scientific theory underpinning sports performance alongside a laboratory and field-based practical exams. In year three, it gets a little bit more clinical, where you learn about exercise-related disease prevention. And then also in second semester of year three, you get an intro work placement. I went to work with a company called Xwell Medical, which is a company that specializes in conducting medically supervised exercise classes to patients with chronic conditions. And then in year four, you go on and do some research and specialization in selected areas related to sports science and health. For me, I'm really into the water. I'm actually the chairman of DCU Swimming and Water Polo Club. And for my final year project, I am working with Xwell Medical to do a feasibility study of trying to get patients into the water to try and improve their condition. So if we move on to the next slide there. Again, this is just an overall idea of the modules that you do throughout the 4 years here at DCU. Again, year one, you got the intro to the basic sciences. So you got physiology, psychology, chemistry, physics, and intro to exercise science. And then you got some strength and conditioning work in semester two, along with some adapted physical activity. So how you can manage to change exercise for individuals with intellectual disabilities or physical impairments. I guess if we move on to the next slide, then we can kind of look at what we do in year two. So you see more conditioning science, some anatomy, more physiology. So what happens to our body when we exercise? You kind of look at all the major systems within the body. Sports psychology, sport and exercise nutrition, more conditioning science. Then in the second semester of year two, we get some genetics as well. Physical activity psychology. So how can we encourage individuals to become more physically active, utilizing theories, psychological theories. And then also sport and exercise biomechanics, and we get a little bit of an introduction to research methods so that we can really look at research literature and being able to take things from that, utilizing evidence-based practice. So yeah, if we move on to the next slide there, please. Again, then, if we go into year three, then it gets a little bit more clinical. We're looking at clinical exercise physiology. So we learn exercise referral and physical activity promotion. And in that module, we learned about all these major chronic conditions within Ireland and how exercise can help improve those conditions, which is really cool. There's coaching and inclusion studies, which really helps you develop your skills as a coach. Then as we move on, I guess, there we go. So that, as we move on, we go into the intro program, which is second semester of third year. Again, it's organized through the DCU Intra office. It really integrates academic study closely with related jobs, provides students with an understanding of the professional world, and it really helps students to stand out within the graduate employment market. With this course specifically, if we move on to the next part, Some people work in the HSE, some people work in health and wellness organizations, primary schools, secondary schools, sports organizations like national governing bodies. Some of my friends work with Swim Ireland, some rugby teams as well as really big sports clubs like Leinster Rugby. Some people work in hospitals, professional sports teams again. And yeah, so universities. And moving on to the next slide now. The assessment methods, again, there's a mixture of continuous assessment, written assignments, group projects, lab-based practical exams, field-based practical exams, research written tests, and end-of-year examination. Yeah, really good. You learn a lot from what they give you. But yeah, moving on to the next slide. Again, the career options then you can either specialize within sport, so coaching development, athletic development, or kind of health, so working with health promotion, corporate health advisors, or working with patients to improve their condition. You can go into recreation, public and private sectors. You can work in commercial gyms. You can go on to do PE, physiotherapy. A lot of people then do progress their education in either medicine, nutrition, dietetics, occupational therapy, business, or any type of graduate studies, which is thought or research. So moving on. That's it with sports science. We're going to move on to the next course now, which is athletic therapy and training. And basically, this is a degree that qualifies graduates to professionally work with athletes and non-athletes to prevent, assess, treat, and rehabilitate sport and physical activity related injuries. If we move on to the next slide. A big question that usually comes on is the difference between ATT and physiotherapy. And I guess physio is really general. It includes non-musculoskeletal illnesses as well. So you will be looking at respiratory illnesses, burns, neural damage, and cardiac disease or strokes. Whereas athletic therapy, if you move on, would be complete focus on the prevention, the assessment, treatment, and the rehab of MSK injuries. So really high within different aspects of the musculoskeletal system. So this is just the overall course structure for ATT. In first year, again, we have a high level of anatomy, strength and conditioning, and some basic sciences like physics and physiology. Again, semester 2 of first year, you're looking at sport and exercise physiology, motor control and learning, and intro to athletic therapy and training. I think the big difference between the first few years within sports science and athletic therapy is that sports science really focuses a lot on the physiology, whereas athletic therapy really focuses on the anatomy. In year 2, they really get involved with injuries, emergency care, injury prevention, and integrated sport and exercise physiology. When you work into year 3, there's a little bit more injuries, sport and exercise nutrition, new enterprise and development planning, soft tissue therapies, as well as exercise and chronic illness rehab. At the start of year 4, then, you go on your placement, which I will talk about in the next few slides. And then there's a new option now to actually pursue a master's in strength conditioning here at DCU. So moving on. Again, ATT, you get a lot of clinical experience here. There's a lot of exposure to patients in years 2 and 3, as well as there's a 4 to 6 month clinical placement in final year of the BSc program, which can be held in either Ireland, UK, USA, or Australia. So moving on to the next slide. These are kind of the teams that we can go on to. The Irish places where athletic therapists have been. So they can be, people have gone to Shamrock Rovers, have worked with football clubs in Shelburne, in Bohemians, with the FAI, and also Leinster Rugby. Moving on to the next slide now. They've also worked with Dublin GAA, Swim Ireland, Leinster Rugby, and Tennis Ireland. And onto the next slide there, yeah. So the British sites then, people have actually gone on to work with Liverpool, Manchester City, Southampton, Rochdale. A lot of them are usually football teams or rugby teams. Yeah, and then finally then, there's also some placements as well in the US sites, which is people have gone to Purdue, they've gone to Pittsburgh, Northeastern University, Duquesne University, Stanford University, and Lebanon Valley College. And then there's some Australian sites as well, again, some football clubs, and then also some rugby going in there too. So moving on to the next slide. So the assessment methods with the ATT, it's with continuous assessment, it can be shown within written assignments, group projects, oral and written examinations, as well as a final year end of term examination, which can be done oral and written. There's a lot of shadowing work done. There's clinical group work done and supervised practice there as well. In final year of the bachelor's program, again, there's a 4 to 6 month clinical experience in year 4, as well as a research final year project. Moving on to the next slide. The kind of options then, people go on to do professional practice. They work with national governing bodies of sport, sports teams across all sports, further study, teaching, working abroad, and also in the US or the UK. Again, there's a new option of pursuing the master's program in year 5 in athletic therapy and strength and conditioning. Next slide now. So the final course that I'm just going to be talking to you today is the PE, and there's actually 2 courses here. Is PE and biology, which allows you to teach PE and biology to honours leaving cert level, as well as science subjects to junior cert level, and PE and maths, which allows you to teach PE to leaving cert level, and maths as well to an honours leaving cert level. So the next slide there. Again, an overview, they're 2 separate 4-year degree programs. There's common PE and education elements, and there's separate then biology and mathematical elements. So it provides the skills, knowledge, and experience to teach PE and biology or maths in all post-primary schools in Ireland. So moving on. There's some school placement within both of these courses, and there's blocks within years 2, 3, and 4. It really provides an opportunity for the students to explore and clarify many of the key issues that define their practice as a teacher. Moving on. Again, there's 3 kind of main strands. You learn about physical education, you learn on how to educate people, and this is really used within peer-based learning. And then you can really specialize in either biology or mathematics, depending on the course that you go into. So in the next slide there. The assessment methods, similar to the other courses, they're also with continuous assessment. There's written assignments, group projects, written tests, and a final term, end of term examination. There's a lot of practical experience in teaching each other. Again, that peer-based learning and school-based teaching practice. So on to the next slide there, yeah. So finally, there's actually a master's in physiotherapy coming to DCU very soon in a pre-registration. It's a 2-year full-time program that is going to be inclusive of clinical placement, and it should be starting in September 2025, subject to accreditation by CORU. On to the next slide there. I think it's really important to look at the next slide there, yeah. It's really important to look at the course requirements before actually going to any of these courses. Again, sports science and health last year was 511. Athletic therapy was 565 was the minimum requirements. PE in biology was 542, and PE in maths was 508. Again, there are university minimum requirements. You need to have 6 leaving cert subjects at grade 06 and H7, and it needs to include the subjects of English or Irish and maths, and 2 of the subjects need to be grade 5 or higher. Although you do need to do a lot higher than this to actually get into the minimum course requirements for the points. Then the course requirements then as well, you need a O3 or an O2 for PE in maths, or a H3 in maths to pursue the maths sector of PE in maths, plus grade O3 or H3 in physics, chemistry, biology, physics chem or ag chem, so any other science to do the other course. So moving on. So why should you consider? Again, the biggest thing here is really the Polaris building, the newly constructed building on campus in DCU, and is the home of the entire School of Health and Human Performance. So if you do go to any of these courses, you will be based in this building a lot of your time. Moving on to the next slide. And state-of-the-art teaching and research facilities. There's a mixture of practical lecture and laboratory classes, small classes for individual attention from highly qualified staff. All the lectures are truly amazing, and they really are the best in their abilities. There's strong vocational and professional links with places around the local community and the local area, but even internationally, specifically within the ATT program. There's a quality and variety of research activity going on. There's always research that is going to be conducted within the university, and even throughout your bachelor's within any of these 3 courses, you can volunteer and get involved within that research. There's a postgraduate study within the Master's in Strength and Conditioning from the Athletic Therapy program, and we're also trying to introduce the Master's of the Master's Strength and Conditioning within Athletic Therapy and the Master's of Physiotherapy that can come from any of these courses. As well then, there's a staff student experience that really does work to make DCU unique. So moving on to the next. Finally, now, any questions if anyone has any? Um, yeah, about any of the three courses. So whether it is athletic therapy and training, sports science and health, or the PE in biology or PE in maths. But yeah, I think one of the most amazing things really is the campus experience and the clubs and socks life here at DCU. You can join some amazing clubs, and yeah, it's really, really amazing. There's a clubs and socks open day, a kind of fair next week where we get to kind of market the club, and that's another really great time reason to come to DCU. Yeah, so the Masters in Strength and Conditioning with ATT is just an extra year added onto the four, so it's 5 years in total. You do an extra research project that's relevant towards strength and conditioning. So if that is the route that you would be interested in, then yeah, you can decide. I think you can still decide within final year. One of my friends is actually in the ATT program, and he did say that the placement was one of the most amazing things. He went to the University of Pittsburgh, and it was just a truly amazing experience to see the high quality research facilities as well that the US has there. Any other questions? So within the physical education course, there so I think that in first year, there's a lot of lectures within the PE course, and within both the mathematics and the biology course. And as you progress throughout the degree, then you've got more lab and more practical based work where they want you to actually get out and get some experience actually teaching people. And then with regards to places in ATT, um, I know when I started in first year, it was about 30. I don't know, it's higher right now. So, yeah. So you're looking at about around 30 to 40 people. Any other questions, guys? No worries, Imelda. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining. Again, if you have any other questions or any queries about today, please email studenthelp at DCU with any other further questions about these three courses. And yeah, thank you so much.